Marty, we've got to go back to the future on this week's Data Radio Show. Hello there, welcome to this week's episode of the Data Radio Show, where we get a little bit wibbly wobbly, timey, wimey, and play around with time a little bit. You see, back in 2022 when I first started this job, well, one of my very first roles was to actually look after and produce a masterclass for the Data Vault Innovators community, who you should totally go and join. It's absolutely free. It's brilliant to see more people over there chatting and meeting everybody else who's getting involved in Data Vault. But what I thought was kind of interesting was, well, time marches ever on, and I was really curious to see whether or not the answers that we got from that very first masterclass in 2022 had changed. When I first got this job, I was told, look, things don't change very much in this industry. It's the same models that they've always used, but in the last couple of years, we've seen huge advancements in things like generative AI and large language models, as you would know if you've seen any of the other episodes that we've done. So I was really curious to do a comparison between the two. But because the masterclass runs on a certain time frame that it has to be sort of out there and the information put in place and the runtime for it, I didn't really get a chance to do a comparison between the old answers and the new answers. So I wanted to do that this week for the Data Radio Show. Now, I know not everybody's into Data Vault. It's not everybody's management option of choice, but it's certainly interesting to see some of the answers that come through, particularly when it comes to things like missing data or data remediation and data quality. So make sure you stick around and check this out. Let's see what the original answers were and come back and take a look at what some of the answers are that you've got now. Now, these are just going to be a bit of a highlight option as well. So we're not going to show you the whole masterclass. For that, you can jump over and check the rest of the channel or wherever it is that you get your podcasts from, because it's available on both of those now. Right, let me give you a quick rundown first on how this is all going to work, because if you're watching this on video, clearly it's different to if you're listening to it on podcast. So we've built in some audio breaks. So when you hear this sound, it means that we're going to be playing the clip from 2022. And when you hear this sound, we're whooshing forward into 2024. Super simple. And then in between each of them, I'll ask the question that's popped up. So really, really fast. But because some of the people are answering the same questions, makes a bit harder to tell the difference between 22 and 24. Never thought I'd have to try and explain time travel in a video or podcast, but hey, here we are. Let's jump straight into it. What are the options that are out there for data quality remediation?
Fix it at source. Fix it at source. Fix it at source. If you've got a data capture process and you can see there's low quality data coming in there, change that process. That might be setting something to a drop down list rather than free text. It might be make it mandatory, but it might also be, well, let's look at a different way that we could capture this data. That thing on install date. Well, you knew I was putting a brand new asset in. You know, the system was going, you were out doing this job, putting the new asset in. Why not just put that as the date, as default? I don't need to do that anymore. So definitively look at it in terms of, can we use systems and processes to generate higher quality data? Data quality issues occur everywhere. Everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody's short of time. So quality issues occur. When I first got into the data quality and data governance side, it was like, no, everything has to be 100% perfect. And then you very quickly realize that 100% perfection is impossible, unattainable. So therefore, just don't do it. So start picking on the things that are important. And we still have the data quality thing of critical data elements, things that are just key to your organization's proper running. But it does mean that some of the, like, hey, the marketing team or the maintenance team sort of get left out a little bit on those, but don't necessarily have the full set of people that can go, hey, there's data quality issue in this data over here, that attribute. So that data observability piece and machine learning over the top of it, that's a step up from maybe where we were 2 years ago to go, if I can train the machine learning model to go, here's a load of data. So you shouldn't expect these attributes to be updated, or these correlate with these. If I've got address line 1 and 2, then I must have a suburb state postcode. Those sorts of things you can sort of train a machine learning on and do. And as Jules says, to surface up when it sees something a bit weird that's not been predefined. So that's the starter. And then the next is, if we're going into the Gen AI mode, is, well, if you can say to the generative AI, it's this sort of data, it's names and addresses of people who are buying products, or it's a bit of maintenance we're doing on an asset. So there's like a piece of work that the human's doing, and give it even more flavor, even more, information about what it's doing. It can use that level of intelligence to go, oh, I sort of understand what should be going on here, and then apply even further more, almost to the SME orientation of that looks like a data quality error. And that's now occurring every day on this group. So I want to surface that up to the human to go, I think there's something here that you should look at. And that is definitely, as we're maturing more, becoming more and more possible.
How can a data quality framework be applied to process data and help improve business process quality?
To me, process data is just another data. And so, as James was saying, we can look at what's expected out of the process. So from that observability angle, or we can look at what what metrics are we tracking. So we treat it as another data set, and the idea is that obviously is if your information around any business process is correct, then you have a better opportunity to manage that process well, or find opportunities to improve that process. And you can't improve a process if you don't understand it. So I mean, it's there's lots to be done in that space. I think, especially in the utilities and and heavy industries sort of sector. There is a lot more information coming out of processes, from manufacturing and other things. So applying data quality rules that we've traditionally applied to finance and customer data sets and those sorts of things is a big opportunity there. Yeah, I think whenever we've deployed a data quality framework, it's never been the volume of rules that was the goal. It was the quality of the rules. So it was really what business process are you trying to affect, and what is the one or two rules that really identify that there's an issue with. So we've had rules that have saved people, like a single rule saved organizations millions of dollars. So that's what you're looking for. So we can generate rules, but we don't want everyone just generating rules just because we should check if there's nulls in that field, or but we never bother filling it out anyway. It's what's the point, right? So I think it still comes down to actually having people really sit down and think about what rules affect what processes and what would the downstream outcome be. And then once you understand that, you might be able to write one or two rules that actually improve your business rather than just improve your data quality.
And I'll go back. The business user is probably the best person, or some manager or somebody is probably the best person to pick that. Reliability engineer is a great one.
Yeah.
The asset custodian is another one. Definitely not the salesperson or the marketing person.
No, and not the consultant. Yeah, but not the consultant either. We can't come in and tell you what rules you should apply. It needs to come from the business saying these are the things that are broken. So.
Was around whether or not the rules have changed for data observability. And if you're using something like a generative AI that can give you variations, does that change how the rules work for data observability and how it fits within building of Data Vault and working within the system?
Yeah. Sorry, this was one of my pet things from. So I work a lot with data scientists, machine learning people, and it's this bit of data never stays the same. Human-driven processes never stay the same. So not just looking at, hey, has the data got when we get I can use gender, MF, male, female, unknown, binary. So you can say, oh yeah, the data's coming through, it's quality, it's got one of these, or it's empty. That's beautiful. But what happens if if next week 80% of the records come and they go M? Well, you're going, well, that's not the data looks right, but the overall breadth, the overall spread, my sort of trust in that did it right has dropped. So data observability is not just profiling the things in themselves. It's looking at what's come in today, what's come in yesterday. Is this the same? Is this the right amount of data for a Thursday in November? Yeah, compared to last year, it's doubled. Well, what's going on there? And having something in that data quality side to look at the statistical spread of that data is becoming way more important. And to Richard's earlier point, as we're building automated systems from IoT sensors and things, this automated thing is going to make its decisions and change through feedback learning, change what it's doing. And so we need to have that same level of data quality observation before that thing makes an incorrect decision. So getting in there as quickly as possible and being proactively reactive to data change is something I've been waving the flag for the past 3 years. And then yes, this data observability of profiling the data, understanding the data, and then putting processes on top, which can in themselves be AI processes to monitor that data and alert us as early as possible. Not in the area, not for me, not in the areas that we've just talked about. So the thing of data observability and Gen AI and ML, it's tuning better. You can throw it at it; it's going to do a better job, but it's probably going to be more expensive than if you did a machine learning model or if you did some sets of rules. So there's a little bit of thing in there. It is going to produce a better result. The next piece there would be that actually I think it's going to be more important where we start looking at how important that is. So let it do the ranking process. Hey, this thing, suddenly we got 1 million records coming through with bad data in. I want to tell you about that now. Yeah, if we've had 50 records a day that are a bit bad, I'd sort of want to get it, but make it 10th or 20th in the list. So I think some of those in terms of helping it work out the prioritization and the risk and the rewards of making those changes. The bit in the data observability side, go.
Yeah, I think it probably hasn't changed. I mean, if from an observability point of view, you're probably looking at, is the volume has that changed significantly from yesterday to today? As the expected values, are they well outside of the expected range, or are they are they not? Has the structure of the data for some reason changed all of a sudden? Like those things will, so data observability rules like that have probably been hand coded into platforms for a long time. Now there's platforms that do data observability, and you can probably create a bigger, more complete model. You might use AI to give you some ideas around other ways to monitor it, but essentially what you're looking for is the data flowing through in the way I expect it, and the values within a reasonable range. Like, do I usually get a number between 1 and 10, and all of a sudden I've got a 10,000? Why? Why does that exist? That's more in your observability space. I don't think the rules specifically have changed. I think the tools are just getting better.
How would you describe the current role of data in a business, and how do current trends impact trust in data?
Yeah, I saw a stat yesterday at Chief Data Officer Summit, which said 70% of executives, and this was like across 1,000 executives, understand that poor quality data is not letting them do the things that they want. We just have to get them to chuck us some money so we can set up data quality programs.
Well, I was just thinking that one of the things that we've done in numerous organizations is actually help them to understand the impact of data quality by actually looking at the financial impact. So trying to do some financial modeling around what risk they're carrying, because everyone understands you're carrying $10,000 worth of risk or $1 million worth of risk. they find it hard, or lots of non-technical people find it very hard to understand. Well, we have X number of records with these sorts of problems in it, or data typing is misaligned, or a whole range of different things around master data and reference data. It all gets quite hard to conceptualize. But if you say the sum total of those issues is $1 million of risk, and we think by spending 20 grand on the problem, we can alleviate that risk. That is a very much a conversation that a business user can engage in, and so that's the way I think to put it in front of managers. I think most frontline business users feel the pain because I've been writing something about this actually just this morning. So let me have a stab at it. Because I think we've been on this journey. Like 10 years ago was the big data era, and now we look at those volumes and probably laugh. Um, there's the cloud adoption, there's mobility, there's digital transformation, there is the big data era, and then there's Gen AI. Like it's come and sat on top of what was already a highly complex uh, thing for an organization to manage. They're trying to get you know, maybe real time analytics happening for various processes within their business. And so they're needing the data platform and the analytics tools to do all of that stuff for them. And everyone was okay. And then 12 months ago, like Gen AI dropped on everyone's lap, and everyone's like, without Gen AI, we're not going to be competitive. What do we do? Right. And at the same time, the cloud data platforms are getting more accessible and less expensive, and so smaller organizations are actually now facing the same requirement. They need to adapt and use analytics and Gen AI to compete in their markets. And if they don't, they're dinosaurs. And so I think everyone's feeling the pressure to um, to deliver something, right? Everyone's got an AI driven something at this point, right down to probably the local pizza shops, the Domino's or whatever will have a AI driven something. If they don't already, it's coming next week. So um, I think that has put pressure on smaller organizations who had less sophisticated approaches to data management, needing to adopt enterprise level data management um, methodologies or processes without without the team, without the technology stack, and so there's a scramble to these dark cloud platforms that have various tools and that have support, and there is now probably flowing just in time things like Flow BI and what we're trying to do with Iris as well to help bring that level enterprise level approach to markets that maybe are a bit smaller organizations, a bit further down the chain that traditionally couldn't do it. So um, I think business leaders are probably struggling, knowing they have to do it, not knowing how much it's going to cost them, where are they going to find the budgets for it, how are they going to stay competitive. At the same time, every tech vendor's throwing AI into it and saying it's going to save your bacon. And it may all come together at the one time, and the tools will get easier to use because they've got more AI embedded in them and all of those sorts of things. But um, it is an interesting and very
Mm,
fluid
yeah,
environment right now.
yeah, agree with everything Jules has just said. There are two bits I've got around data and tools that we're putting on top of it. So the first is what's historically been called unstructured data. So all of the texts and images and videos. We've had tools for the last 5, 10, 15 years. We can apply natural language reasoning to data and process it through. Something like Gen AI has just made that way easier to do. To go, I think there might be something interesting in there. Let me go and see if I can see anything around ethics, and pull that out of all of the
Mm,
documents, or and do that a bit more naturally on request. So our data platforms need to cope with that better. Um, and all of the understanding that, I've got a bit of free text in here. Well, there might be personal and sensitive, etc. data in there. It's like, how do we deal with that? That's a problem I haven't resolved, but I know it's going to come. but
Mm.
we need to prepare ourselves for those sorts of things. There is still in there though, in looking for, investigating, searching, and then going, is that useful for me ongoing? And so turning that question into something that you need to cement in definitely comes back to data vault orientation. I'm looking for any sentence where there is the word privacy or ethics and there's a negative sentiment in that text. I want to draw that through and alert it somewhere. Yeah. And, it's probably a bad example, but all those sorts of things of pulling things out and going, if we see any of these and they're trending upwards, we want to do something with it as a business user. And then the second part, when anytime I hear generative AI, I hear risk and hallucinations and it making stuff up. Which, if you're going in and looking at data, is like, no, we're bringing trust, robustness to the. We can't have the Gen AI making things up. So everything that I've been doing this year might change next year. Is we have data marts. We've built data marts that are for certain roles, certain uses. So let's point generative AI to those data marts that we've already crafted. Give them a little bit more information about what's in those, and then go in the role of blah, 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 come and look in this data and draw out things based on my question. And look, still may make errors, but so could a human. But it's making it a bit more focused and going, this is the domain of data that you're looking at, and these are the questions, and this is the context of what you're doing. It's a little bit of prompt engineering, but it is very definitely going, don't go and look out there. And some people go, no, I want it to look out there, but I'm going, not yet, until we work out what it is. Come in and look at this data mart where we got the robustness and things, and the answers you get are more than likely going to be accurate based on your question.
You know what? I'm going to cut it off there because it'd be really cool for you to go over and check out the full length video that's available, like I said, wherever you get podcasts or over on our YouTube channel. There's a lot of really interesting insights into how things have changed in just the last couple of years. And a lot of people often forget that something like generative AI and large language models, they can really impact the way that people work within the data industry. And for us to know what's coming, what the future holds, it's really important also to take a look back and see how things have changed. And there's a lot of conversations in this particular piece around that. So yeah, go check that out if you can. Other than that, I'm going to wrap it up here for the week because it's been about the right runtime for the episode. Don't forget to go and join us on the Data Vault Innovators community. There's a whole bunch of content over there. Join conversations, meet people. And also don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this channel if you don't already. We're changing things up a little bit as well around here, so you might see like news shorts, for example, popping up on your feed. Feel free to comment on those or give them a like, tell people about them as well. Until next week, I will catch you guys all later. Have a fantastic time and may the force be with you.